good morning. First of all, I want to thank you for the job that you do, because we have a very impactful job, and sometimes people that do not do our job don't always understand that, and I know that, okay? As Rob said, I do come from a unique perspective. I'm with you on the roads every day, but then in between the morning and PM route, then I am in administration. So I see both sides of what we do. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that today and try to bridge that gap. Again, going back to the impact that you have, my brother Jason sitting back there, our grandpa drove a bus, and I can't tell you how many times growing up we had people come to us and say, I rode your grandpa's bus. You never know what difference you may make, but just simply when they get on that bus every morning, you're able to call them by name. So especially for the new drivers, I want to strongly encourage, learn every student's name on your bus, because it completely changes everything. So just that friendly good morning when they step on that bus make all the difference in the world. So I've had my CDL. Somebody asked me the other day what my students did. I've had mine for 22 years. I've not driven for all 22 years. But kind of made me feel like an old man, not as old as David Mosley, but getting there. All right, so let's talk day treatment students. Our students are held to a little different standard, and I really need your help holding my students to a different standard. Now, let me say this. Just because they are in day treatment does not mean they're the biggest thug in Laurel County. Everybody makes mistakes, and I have good kids that make mistakes that come to me in day treatment. So don't automatically put in your head, this is a troublemaker. Can be, we know that, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So especially for the new drivers, how do I know a student is in day treatment? For those of you who've been around, you know my students wear uniforms. They wear khaki pants. They have on a navy t-shirt or a sweatshirt. So khaki pants, navy shirt. That's the easiest way to identify that student as being a day treatment student. When they get on your bus, here's what I need. I need everyone to keep their day treatment students in the first 5 rows of your bus. Now, if you're like me, you don't have enough front seats. I understand that. You got preschool, got to put them up there, I understand that. But even on transfer routes, I really need them on the first 5 seats, or first 5 rows, seats 1 through 10. And I'm just going to be honest, when Marshall sends me a video of a behavior, there are 6 cameras on that bus. Camera 1 points out the window, see what we're seeing. Camera 2's on us as the driver in that door, and then this goes back 3, 4, 5, 6. Just about every video he sends me is either camera 5 or 6, because they're not sitting where they're supposed to. I should never get a video from camera 5 or 6. If you tell them to sit, seat 8, seat 4, seat 1, and they refuse to do so, that is an automatic write-up. I need to know that. Okay, get that to Marshall, and we will deal with that. We tell our students, and if they get on the bus and say, well, Mr. Mcwhorter said I don't have to. Never happened. Never happened. We tell them they are to sit in the front of the bus. Wherever you tell them to sit is where they are to be. Once they board your bus, especially transfer bus, either at the elementary or at one of the high schools, please do not let them off. Because here's what's happening. They bring stuff they're not supposed to bring. They hand it off to a friend to keep during the day, because the friend's not getting searched at North High, South High, whatever. And then they want to get off, get it back from their friend. When they get on your bus, please do not let them off. If they need off and you think it's a legit situation, I'm going to ask that you get the principal, either high school, the elementary school, wherever, and let them make that decision. They have no business getting off your bus. Let's go back to their uniform. We've had instances in the past where our kids like to change clothes on your bus. If they get on your bus with a day treatment uniform, they should get off wearing that day treatment uniform. If they have changed clothes, I need to know. They have no business, obviously, changing clothes on the bus. So let's talk about what my kids can have with them. It's really simple. They can have a jacket in the winter, a hooded sweatshirt, to keep them warm, and that's pretty much it. They are not to have any electronic device. No cell phones. I know it's the big one. And what they do, they bring them on your bus, I know. They bring them on your bus, and they hand them to a friend. That's what that friend's keeping during the day. If you see one of my students with a cell phone, I need to know. Tell Marshall it's a write-up, and then I will deal with it accordingly. Obviously, we know no vapes, no iPods, nothing electronic there to have. Usually on Tuesday mornings, they will have a folded up sheet of paper in their pocket, which is called their point sheet, and they'll bring that back. Now, there is a rare exception. I do have several students who have jobs after school right now, and there are exceptions where we allow the students to bring their work clothes with them. That needs to be in a Walmart bag, backpack, whatever. Please do not hold that for them. If they ask you, Blaine Storm, to hold that, I guarantee they've got something in there they're not supposed to have. They bring it to the high schools, and when they get off the high school, they immediately hand it to our staff, and that bag gets searched. We hold it through the day. They get off the bus in the afternoon. We hand it back to them so they can go wherever they need to go, change clothes, and go to work. Okay? But what I'm going to try to do is when we make that exception for a student, I'll try to let Marshall know so he can let the driver know. Hey, they're going to be bringing a bag of clothes. But no, they do not need change on your bus. We had some questions last year about why do the day treatment students, or they're getting here too early, especially in the afternoons. And I'm just going to put it blunt and say, we really do not want our students engaged with students from North High or South High. So we try purposefully to get there a few minutes early to get our kids on your buses before North High and South High dismisses. Again, that keeps them from interacting and getting back or being able to let someone hold something for them that they're not supposed to have. That's the purpose of it. So I know it's a little bit of inconvenience for you sometimes that, hey, our kids are getting there 2, 3, 4 minutes earlier than the other kids, but that's intentional. Let's talk about behavior right quick, and this is where I'm going to be wearing both hats, bus driver hat and administrator hat. I know as a bus driver that if I have to submit a write-up, if I have got to that point, I want that student removed from my bus. And I know you're all the same way, because some of you call me and tell me that. Because I feel the same way. But I need you to understand, there is a federal law out there that every principal in this county despises. And that federal law says that if that student in special ed, if they receive speech services, they are protected by this federal law. And that says that you can only suspend that student for 10 days through the entire calendar year. And here's what happens. I get a write-up, I suspend the student off your bus for 3 days, and they do not come to school those 3 days. That counts as 3 suspension days. So within less than a week's time, 3 days, I have used 30% of the days I can use for the entire year. And that creates problems, especially August, September, October. So please understand that if we get a write-up, and especially if that student is special ed, sometimes our hands are tied. And I promise you, there's not one of us that likes it. We talk about it constantly. So some of the schools do alternative things. Some of them might give them after-school detention. So that means they're going to be on your bus in the morning. But they have to stay after school for detention. The parent has to come pick them up. Some might give them in-school suspension. That doesn't help you on the bus, and I know that. But there's nothing we can do about it. Now, if the parent brings them, then that doesn't count as a day suspended. But let's just be honest. Most of the time, if we suspend one off the bus, they don't come. And we look at the big picture, we have to kind of keep in mind what's our job, and our job is to educate. And we can't educate when they're not at school. I'm going to give you a little friendly advice, especially to the new drivers. If you ride up constantly, then we're probably not going to take it as serious. I'll use DD as the example back there. If DD Hampton sent me a write-up in, I knew it was a problem. Because DD has tried everything she could possibly try beforehand to keep from doing that. And a lot of times that's what we want to know. What have you done? You know, I had a kid last year, he poked 1,000 holes in a seat, and he was on camera bigger than life doing it. That's simple. It's a write-up, and we move on. But if they're a constant disruption on your bus, what have you done? I can tell you what my go-to is. I put them in the front seat for about 3 or 4 weeks and let them think about it. And if they continue, then we might move on to something else. Okay, so I strongly encourage, work with them, learn their names, try to build that relationship with them. That's all students, not just my day treatment, but it's all students. And then, I ask for understanding when you turn a write-up in and you don't get what you want, because I've been there too. But our hands are tied. Now, does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
The incident you just described with the 10-day suspension for special needs, is that all of special needs bus?
Yeah, that's all special needs students. So, like I said, if a student is simply receiving speech services, they're not a behavior issue or whatever, they don't have a cognitive issue, that counts. No. That is an ARC decision. And that is correct. No, I agree. If you have asked and repeatedly and things, then absolutely, that's a write-up.
I wrote a kid up 21 times in 1 year. And some of you who are real close to me can probably name the kid by name. So I didn't write him up because of everything he did. I wrote him up specifically for those endangered situations, those safety issues. But every time I wrote him up, I also added, he was wrote up after I moved his seat, separated him from his friends, after he was sat in a seat by himself, after he was asked to stay facing forward. If you can give me those details when we sit down at those ARC meetings, and most of the time that's going to be me, I can say this is what the driver has done, what the driver has asked for, and what the driver anticipates how this whole thing's going. So we need those details of what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Well,
And that's the number one safety issue. And that's the number one safety issue.
and that goes back to the kid poking holes in my seat. There's nothing you can do to stop that. That's an automatic write-up. Same thing. Any other questions for me? Again, I want to thank you for what you do every day. Extremely important job that we have. And I wish all of you nothing but the best this upcoming year. And if there's anything I can do for you with my students, you can call the school, Marshall, Rob, they all got my cell phone numbers. I don't care for you to call me, and we'll deal with the issue. But again, thank you, and I wish you the best of luck this year.